Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. We have the great pleasure today of speaking with Polly Higgins, an international environmental lawyer who has done something that has never been done before. She has created the Planet Earth Trust and a Universal Declaration of Planetary Rights. She is introducing to the United Nations what ecocide is from the planet's point of view. And she has also a declaration of all human beings that unify people, that transcend religion. Polly Higgins is an activist. She loves the earth, and I think she communicates that and bridges that very well with her law practice internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Polly Higgins to It's Rainmaking Time.
Oh, thank you very much, Kim. What a wonderful introduction.
Thank you. Let's talk about what got you to create the People's Declaration and this Planet Earth Trust.
Well, the Planet Earth Trust was, in fact, a reaction to Copenhagen, the climate change negotiations just back in December. I was very aware when I was there, I was invited to input into drafting of suggestions from the people. This was an invite by Bolivia to input into the actual, what was then called the Copenhagen Accord. And as a result, we had 9 hours to put this together. Negotiators have had, I think, 18 years.
Wow.
It was quite remarkable because what I discovered was, at the time, the document was actually over 147 pages long. And I had to kind of crash read it and realize that there was absolutely nothing in it whatsoever that really understood that, in fact, we are trustees of the planet. All it was doing was treating the planet as a commodity.
Exactly.
To trade. And that, to me, was a huge problem, because if we keep on treating the planet as a thing in which we can trade, then we will ultimately end up with conflict wars.
You, I'm sure, have been called upon by people across the world to speak, and I know that you speak all over. You're in the middle of writing a book. What is the book about, and when will it be out?
The book is, in fact, dealing with an awful lot of this. It's specifically dealing with my latest proposal to the United Nations on the international crime of ecocide. The book itself is called Eradicating Ecocide, and it's dealing with the laws and governance to prevent the destruction of the planet. We have in place some laws that really don't work and have evolved over time, sometimes erroneously. And what has happened is that we have an incredible imbalance where we have, this is getting back to the point of commoditizing the planet, we treat the planet as a piece of property, and we've forgotten about how we can use what's called laws of trust, where we become trustees, stewards of the planet. And so it's about really demystifying how law works, so that everyone can understand what laws are hindering us and what laws help us and what new laws we need.
I was just doing an interview the other day with Rosalind Peterson from agriculturedefensecoalition.org. And it's a very important body of work that she is doing. And I'm sharing this with you because it's very pivotal. For example, I just found out, much to my pain, that the U.S. Navy is literally taking out 11.7 million marine animals over the next 5 years in the United States.
My goodness.
They're doing war experiments on our oceans. Now, it's a very complex thing, as you know, to talk about being a steward of the planet. Wouldn't you say that most individuals who love the planet, revere trees, love birds, appreciate the ocean and the land and clean air, really are pretty good stewards of the planet, but that governments and the military operations in governments do things to this planet? We can outcry, but we have no control to stop them.
This is the huge problem. At the heart of this, we do not have international laws to stop this. And in fact, damage and destruction to the seas is possibly, to my mind, one of the worst forms of ecocide we can have. For instance, what's happening with the Gulf oil spill, because unlike land, we cannot remediate the sea. We cannot take out the damage and the destruction that's been done. You can remediate soils. You can actually, what's called bioremediation. You can grow things to help leach out toxins and to neutralize. But in deep seas, you can't do it. And when you kill species in the seas, it's very hard to monitor just what levels we're at until it's too late, until we know we have a dead sea on our hands. Without laws to stop what actually very few people are doing, ultimately at the end of the day, then we're left in a very unequal balance here. There's a report coming out later this year. It's called the Teeb report, and it puts the damage and destruction to the planet for 2008 at $2.2 trillion globally. And it's a conservative estimate, but it's basically a way of trying to gauge, just how much damage we're doing. That's a huge figure. Only 7 nations' GDPs exceed that figure. The worst thing is that for 2009, it's almost doubled. It's $4 trillion. And in fact, I was reading today that it's now estimated the cost of the Gulf oil spill will be around $1 trillion. So we're looking at, enormous ecocide writ large. And the damage that's been done in the Teeb report, that was analysed as being from 3,000 corporations. So we're seeing the decisions of 3,000 CEOs that are creating disproportionately mass ecocide across the planet, where the majority of the people do not want this to happen.
And that is the dilemma. That's the sensitive dilemma that so many people feel powerless. In other words,
Yes.
We can write. As activists, we can speak. We can go out. We can publish. We can broadcast. But unless there are laws that hold corporations accountable, and it's very much the same old, GMO foods, for example, I just learned, are part of the equation that are killing the bees. The spraying of the air is not only hurting the health of people, the experiments with our air, I'm sure you know what I'm referring to, all of it combined, and they're usually military operations that are going on, and they're projects with corporations that are not accountable to us as people. And until there's laws that hold corporations accountable, what can we do?
Well, this is the biggest problem, and in fact, it really is about inventing new laws to hold corporations and governments, for that matter, to account. And this is where an international crime of ecocide comes into place. The problem is at the moment is that governments, corporations, banks, financial institutions who finance huge projects that are ultimately destructive to the environment don't make the moral connect between putting money into something that's profitable but damaging at the same time. But once you make it a crime to create this damage or destruction or loss of ecosystems on a grand scale, then you'll find that governments will no longer put policies in that support activities that are a crime. Likewise, financial institutions will no longer put money into activities that are a crime because they will become automatically at risk of ending up in court. And it's not a matter of being fined.
Right.
It's a matter of being at risk of going to prison, of being incarcerated. And that is key here. This is absolutely key because if you can't actually use that as the stick to prevent mass ecocide, then ultimately you will always find with corporations they will buy their way out of the problem.